I'm sure that most of you have done a really good job. And in the discussions, I've seen really bright ideas. Some of the sentences are still in my memory. So you really got something. You are on the right path. The thing is, you have to continue doing that, right? Well, thank you for those who have sent their first drafts. You had amazing memoirs. So every piece of writing has something to tell about you, and that's why it's priceless. Keep sharing your writing. We write and we improve together. It's not about professional writing. It's not about someone judging your writing. It's all about you expressing yourselves with the means of writing. So I really hope that starting from now on, you will not feel shy about writing and especially sharing your writing, because sharing is caring in writing, right? So let's get started. It's our second week, and today we are going to have a practical lesson on how to edit our own work. As I told you in our yesterday's session, um, here in the second week, we are going to edit our works ourselves, because if you are going to be a writer, if you are going to write and post your writings like blogs, memoirs on social networks and other places, first of all, you will have to edit yourself, because not all of us are capable of hiring a professional editor. First of all, it costs lots of money, and also it takes lots of time, and usually self-editing is the best option for the starting writers. So how do we edit our works, and is it really possible to edit our works? That's what we are going to discuss about today. Well, first of all, yesterday we had really good pieces of writing, and some of those writing pieces really made lots of sense, and I got to know you better. Even though it was just one particular moment from your life, it gave me a real insight into what it what it means to walk in your shoes, what it means to feel just like you. So thank you for sharing, and I hope that after you receive feedback forms from me today, and based on the guidance after you edit yourself, you will have a really professional piece of writing that you will feel comfortable sharing. Okay, so let's get started. Guide to editing. All right, welcome to self-editing of your memoir. As George Meredith says, memoirs are the backstairs of our history. So they have lots of things, lots of stories to tell about our life. Even though it's one particular moment of our life, it really tells a lot about our personality, what are our hopes and dreams as a human being, how we see the world. So it has everything to do with our background. Now, I asked you to do some research on the Memoirs of Geisha, right? It's a very famous classical book by, yeah, let me accept some new participants. So welcome back, everyone who are about to join us. Okay, so this book is the classic of memoir writing. I'm sure that you have read this book or at least have seen the movie. The movie also has old version and new version, and this movie is still on the screens. It's being reapplied and taken again, because this movie is real classic of memoir writing. And what I want to do with you in the beginning of our class is just grab your attention and just pay attention to this piece taken from the Memoirs of Geisha by Arthur Golden. Can't you see? Every step I have taken since I was that child on the bridge has been to bring myself closer to you. For those of you who haven't read this book, based on this piece of writing, can you please tell me what this memoir can be about? So does this one sentence really give you insight into what this memoir is about?
Can I speak?
Yes, please, feel free.
First of all, hello everyone. No, actually, before starting the meeting, I was reading about this. So it's about a girl who lived in Kyoto, Japan, and if I'm not mistaken, her parents sold her, or maybe maybe I might be confusing. So, and yeah, about the girl, and in the end, she relocated in New York.
Okay. Well,
I should read this book. I don't know much anymore.
thank you. So your research is just beginning of the reading of this really wonderful book. Does anyone else has something to say?
Um, yeah, hello.
Please.
I've read this book many years ago, but as long as I remember, um, she married her love after having lots of struggles, and her parents actually didn't support her.
Okay, I think we are losing you. Can you please check your connection? I hope that you're not muted, right? Probably connection problems. Well, thank you. Anyone else who has something to say about this book?
Hi.
Hey,
Hello, everyone. I haven't read this book, but to answer questions. Oh, she's coming back.
okay, yes. Floor is yours, Kate. Welcome back.
Sorry.
So, okay.
Yeah. I haven't read this book, but to answer your question, like what you can you understand like just from reading these words? I think that this was the girl who had a difficult life. So like bridge, it maybe can symbolize like a long road to something.
Very good
And
guess. Okay.
and probably that's the story of love, because the last line says that it will bring myself closer to you. So to you is probably a person she would fall in love into. And if she would take many steps to do that, and probably the steps would be hard. So
Very
she
good.
would really appreciate each step closer to that person.
Very good. Very good guess. As you can
Hi,
see.
may I join as well?
Yes, please, Delarba. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see
I've
you.
read this book many years ago and watched the movie as well. I don't recall exact this dialogue, but I believe the geisha is talking to her love, who is the CEO, car manufacturer, producer of Japan, like a very influential guy, and also who's quite older than her, twice or three times, I believe. So the girl has met him when she was a child, and it was very difficult moment of her life, I guess, and she was like 6 or 7, and this guy kind of showed very small kind affection, but it remained in her memory. So it was very like influential for her. So like after like lots of years, she becomes a girl, like a young woman, and then
very good.
this
And
guy
I don't really want you to tell everything, you know.
Okay,
I really
sorry.
want our participants to read this book, because now it's, you know, you are going to just spoil that for them. Let them guess, and it's great that you have already read this book. Thank you for giving this insight. But I really want the participants to read this book, because it's about women and it's a memoir. It's just the best book that you can find on memoir writing. Probably that's a good practice of it. Thank you for making the introduction. So if you really want to know what happened next, Dilerba is not going to tell you. You have to read this book, right? Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you a question actually?
Yes, sure.
On this book? Yes, the book is called Memoirs of a Geisha, and it's told by a perspective of a geisha, a girl from Japan, but the author is not the geisha herself, right?
No.
Can it still be considered a memoir?
Well, actually, that is a memoir. That is a memoir. Sometimes you can take someone else's life and write from the author's point of view. That is a memoir as well. That's a genre in memoir that you don't really tell your own story, but you give the story of someone else from that person's perspective. So it's already a creative memoir. It's not authentic memoir. It's not your own work, but it's fiction-based creative memoir. And this kind of memoirs are very famous too. Okay, well, thank you. So this book is really important, and I really suggest you to read the story of Sayuri, right? This was the name of the girl. So, and there is a very famous piece of, let's say, prose in that memoir. It says, "The heart dies a slow death, shedding each hopes like leaves, until one day there are none, no hopes, nothing remains." So probably these lines also suggest you that something sad happened with this geisha, right? And we are not going to discuss this book in every detail. So if you have time, just grab this book and read it. Because best writers are usually best readers or prolific writers. So in order to improve your writing, you have only two options. You can read a lot or you can write a lot. Reading is like charging. When you read a lot, you charge yourself. You learn the ready-made constructions, you learn the language, and you get the mood, and you start feeling how you should write. So please just spend some time on this book, and I'm sure that you will not regret it. So let's get started our practical session now. How to edit your own memoir. And here I will be your game master, I hope, and I can help you out. And yesterday I have sent you some rubrics on how to edit your memoirs yourself. And I'm sure that some of you have already started working on that. Some of you have probably checked their works against these rubrics and probably critically approached their writing and made some changes. If not, you can go back to this work and do it anytime. But there are certain rules that you should remember when editing any fictional discourse. So any text, including memoirs as well. So our memoir is pen tag, that's your story. But actually, this story can also be a creative work. So you have to know how to edit it. The very first rule that we have to follow through when we edit our own work is every time come to your story with fresh eyes. So what does it mean? Come to a story with fresh eyes. When inspiration is boiling, you keep writing and writing and writing, and your writing sounds like it delivers every message that you had in mind. But after some time, for example, after 2 or 3 days, you come back to this writing, you can start seeing some weaknesses. In some points, really, did I really write it this way? Oh, why did I do this? So this kind of things really can happen when you come back to your story fresh. So when you write, when you finish a piece of writing, try to come back to the story after some time. Because doing this, you can approach your writing freshly and you can really see where you can make changes. So it's not just you wrote this story and you forgot about it, but try to come back to that story and give some time to yourself before you do so. Well, next rule to follow up is read the story out loud. One of the best ways of knowing how your story sounds, you can read it out loud to yourself. One of the ways that authors do, especially with memoirs, they record their stories. They read it out loud and they record their reading. And then they listen, or then they share it with other people. That way also you can really feel where you have strong points, where you have weaknesses, what things should be changed, and what parts really seem to be redundant, lots of words. So this way you can really improve your writing. This is just one of the techniques that will help you to improve your writing. Next, rule number 3, trim or remove any excess words. In writing, memoir writing and any kind of writing is actually metaphorically made similar to a garden. If you plant any kind of trees or flowers in your garden, you have to constantly trim them in order for them to be very beautiful in a good shape, right? Just like this, your work has to be trimmed as well. I'm sure that it's very difficult for the writer to cut their own words, but you have to do. Sometimes you have to really try to put your ideas in shorter sentences, in less words. The best works are the ones that include less words, but the strongest words. So just even if it feels really hard for you, try to trim something, try to cut out any excess words. If you feel that something is repeating over and over, make sure that you cut it. And that way you will improve your writing. Next rule is replacing cliche phrases with unique ones. I am sure that everyone here aware of what is cliche, right? So there are certain things that we listen a lot, especially we read a lot. If you listen to the phrase like she was as smart as a whip, it doesn't really give you the feelings that you intended because these kind of things were overused. They are overly used in every work and it makes your work predictable. Try to come up with your own inventions. For example, let's say, being a writer, sitting in front of my laptop, I was cooking my words at that time. So cooking your words, this can be original thing because there is no such a phrase or idiom in the English language, right? Try to invent things, but try to invent them in such a way that gets the attention and adds something new to your writing. Don't try to borrow famous phrases or quotations. This is not going to make your work colorful, but it's going to make your work very predictable. So no cliche, be original because that's memoir, that's your story, and your story is like no one else's. It cannot be repeated. It cannot be similar to anyone else because memoirs are always unique because we are unique human beings. And rule number 5, if you include any dialogues in your writing, make sure that they are concise, short, brief, clear, and that they really serve the purpose. Sometimes we keep remembering the conversation we had with someone interesting, and then we keep including every detail. As the famous writer Chekhov says, if you include a gun in your story, you should make sure that this gun is used later on. Otherwise, that would be excess and you will have to cut it. So every detail in the dialogue and in the text that you include must serve certain purpose. In the dialogue, try to be very concise. Don't use long dialogues. They are boring and some readers will just skip them. Try to make your dialogues very strong. So how do we make our dialogues strong? We make them short and we put very strong words in them. And strong words doesn't necessarily mean that you should use dictionary and you should borrow very difficult academic synonyms. No, this is not the case. You have to use simple words in different order so that they will give a real meaning. Well, next rule for editing is check that you are showing, not telling. Probably you have heard this phrase a lot, show, not tell. So what does it mean, showing but not telling? Well, you should make sure that you are showing what's happening on the scene rather than telling. For example, she hated the house. She wanted to move to New York. Do you really feel how strong her hate was? No, that's telling. That's not interesting. Instead of that, you can say, the house had bad tumbling and a wet, rotting smell. New York would be a better place for her. In the second version, you can really feel what that person is feeling, and you can really see the scene with the eyes of the reader. So try to show what's happening instead of describing or defining what's happening. If you do so, your writing will be more suspenseful. So just when you go through your own writing, underline the places where you told, but you didn't show, and try to replace them with showing rather than telling. Next rule is always share your story. Otherwise, you will never ever get a reader. So you have to really show it to your friend, someone that you feel close to, and also to people that you don't know. In our case, our Telegram circle is a very good place because here we can share our story to people who are interested in reading, writing, but they are not our friends. They can see our both sides, our weaknesses and strengths as a writer, and can give us really good support in improving our writing. So always share your story. And rule number 8, last but not least, share your work. I repeat it again, share your work, because without this, you're never going to become a writer. These are just some basic editing rules. And now, when we talk about editing, there are certain things that we probably should include or omit. Cliches, filler words, passive voice, adverbs connected to said. So he said, blah, blah, she said, blah, blah. These 4 things, please avoid them as a plaque. Avoid them as much as you can. So no cliches, no repeating of the phrases that are overused, no filler words. We all know what are filler words, right? Like, well, oh, and no passive voice. That's very academic language and it doesn't make your writing fluent. Rather, it makes your writing very vague. And of course, he said, quotation and some phrases. She said, quotation, some phrases. This kind of reporting makes your work like an interview, like a report, but not like a memoir. So try to avoid them as much as you can. Now, editing, and after editing, we have proofreading. Proofreading and editing are so similar and somewhat different. On your screen, I have 5, let's say, descriptions. Some of the descriptions belong to editing, while some of them belong to proofreading. So I'm going to read the very first description, and please tell me, what do you think? Is it editing or is it proofreading? This is much more involved in the overall quality of creating a memoir. What do you think? What is it?
Proofreading.
Proofreading. Okay, thanks. We will check it later. Second, checks grammar, spelling, and other mistakes.
Editing.
That's editing. Okay. Makes writing clear and concise.
Editing.
All right. And creates perfect work ready for publishing.
That's
Both
proofreading.
of them.
Probably proofreading, right? Increases the impact of the writing, the influence of
I think it's both of them.
both of them. Okay, now I'm going to give you those tips. Thank you for guessing. So proofreading versus editing. Editing is much more involved in the creation and overall quality of the writing. And it improves basically the language of writing. You work with sentences, you work with style, you work with everything connected to your writing. It increases the impact of the writing. It increases the influence of the writing. And it makes your writing clear and more concise. You avoid cliches, you cut out any excess words, so it becomes clear and concise. And of course, it removes errors and larger inconsistencies. On the other hand, proofreading works with writing that needs just a little help. If you want to pay for editing and proofreading, I assure you that proofreading will be cheaper because in editing, everything will be almost done. So proofreading is just a final check, where you check your spelling, grammar, and other typos. You check consistency and format. You know that there are certain formats that you should follow, yes, when you submit your writing to somewhere. We are going to talk about this formatting, APA, Chicago style, and which one is best for fiction works. This is going to be addressed in our coming proofreading session. For now, you should know that proofreading creates a perfect document that's ready for publishing. And also, it's cheaper and faster than editing because editing is hard work. That's why editing is going to be done in 2 stages in this workshop. In the very first time, you are going to self-edit. I have sent a rubric and an editing information sheet to our group, and today I will include it in the email to everyone. Please edit yourself first. Before you read my comments and your peers' comments, just edit yourself. follow the rubric and just answer to those questions as much as you can, and you will see that your writing will change. And after that, you will come back with the second draft. So we are about to do a very hard job of editing, and we have to learn how to edit, because if you're not able to edit your own work, then it's going to be very expensive, and it's going to be, let's say, non-professional, because best writers are usually best editors. That's basically it about our today's editing class. Now, before, okay, we have questions. Using passive only apply to this type of writing or in general? Well, passive voice, well, sometimes also it can be applicable, but the language that passive voice gives is more scholarly. That's scientific. That's not really fluent emotional language that you want to have in your memoirs. So it's better to use active voice instead of passive voice. But it doesn't mean that you should totally avoid it. If you really feel that passive voice can deliver your message best here, you may use it. But if you read any fiction works, you notice the use of passive very rarely. So that's more scholarly language, and it's better if you write in the active voice. Well, okay, we have some comments about the book. PDF version of the book. Well, okay, I'll make sure I will share this book with you, the Memoirs of Geisha. If I think I have it in a PDF version, so it would be cheaper, and you can read it and you can reflect on that. And this book is going to be your best teacher, better teacher than me. Actually, the best books are the ones that would be your best teacher. You can learn a lot about writing when you read. Your mind just acquires the format, the language, expressions. If you keep reading, you will start writing. This is just when your phone is charged, it works. That's basically the same. It works the same way in writing. Now, do you have any questions about editing, and do you have any feedback that you want to give each other based on the works that we had yesterday? I remember we shared lots of works. We had Delarbos's work, we had Munira's work, and we had other works that were very interesting and very emotional, very touching. Let's just start working with the work of Delarbos, please. So yesterday, I'm sure that most of you have read Delarbos's story, right? Is there anyone who wants to give any feedback to her? No, feedback is not good feedback in writing. Come on. Okay, so you just want her to keep writing. That's it, right? So what about the other works that we had?
I would give feedback, but unfortunately,
Okay.
I had really busy week, and that's why today I will read one by one all of the memoirs and will give my feedbacks.
Very good. Thank you. So you have to really read each other's works, because that's like a pieces of puzzle, you know? Some of you have a very good writing style. Some of you have very strong words. Some of you have really advanced English language. Some of you are able to write in the correct style. So when you read each other's works, you will just get these elements, acquire these elements. And in the end, we will have a big picture, a very good writing improved via reading. So that's why I really, really, really recommend you to read each other's works here. This is our first draft. You are going to edit your first drafts. And yes, it's very sensitive to write a personal story. In memoirs, you have to really address yourself as a person. I know that it really feels awkward sometimes to share this kind of works with each other, but the main purpose of writing is making it reach the readers, right? So that's why don't really feel uncomfortable in sharing your writing. That's also kind of block, psychological block that you experience when you start writing. But writing is all about self-expression. It's your story, it's unique, and you have to feel really confident in sharing your story here with us, because here we are to listen to you, and your story really matters for us. Today, I'm going to send everyone's feedbacks for their first drafts with some practical hints and suggestions. And after that, you are going to edit your works yourselves. And next time, we are going to start on second draft editing and proofreading. Shahnaza has a question, I think, right?
No, actually, I don't have a question, but I have one suggestion that there is an app called BioPage. This is the really cool how to say community. There are amateur writers and professional writers. It's like they also write memoirs there, and they post on their page.
Sure.
This is also very
Very
good
good.
community and platform to improve our writing.
Good. That's very kind of you to share that. Actually, there are lots of this kind of platforms, right? There are ready-made platforms, and where you can write, your writing will be automatically formatted to any style that you choose. And there is, I will send you links today to some of them, that there is a story writing pages that every week they offer, let's say $25 small grants, small awards for your stories, for your memoirs. You can post, you can try, you can improve, you can get commented on this. If you want to jump from this smaller circle to a bigger circle and start writing, it would be just great. And if some of you know this kind of platforms, if you have any advice, and if you have any skills that you are really good at, please share it with each other. You can send links to the group, you can exchange the ideas, you can start writing and posting on this kind of platforms together, and eventually you will start writing. There are many people who are really good at writing, many people who aspire to be writers, and many women who really want their voices to be heard. But one thing that is stopping them is they haven't started yet. And this workshop is just to help you to start. All of you have something that you bring to this workshop. And when we put all of this together, and when we learn from each other, and we improve our writing and publish and post, then you see that you can do this. It would be your very first steps. And actually the hardest part of the journey is the first step, right? When you just start taking steps, then the path appears. You start seeing your way and you start writing. And here we aim to help you in that. Here we really aim to show you the road and take your hand and say, let's go there. And I'm sure that you will find courage in yourself to get through this journey. And when you finish this workshop, you will be published writers, strong women who are able to empower themselves and via their works empower other women. This is the very main purpose of this workshop. So please write and don't feel shy about your writing. Please share it with us. And please make sure that your writing is going to be accepted, because it's your story and your story is unique. And that's why you don't really have to feel very sensitive about it. And most of us are women here. We have some, yes, male participants of this workshop too. It's fine. It's fine. If you can't write in certain topics, you may change the topic, or you may improvise. Your writers. It's just you're magicians. You can create whatever you want with the words. So at this point, probably we will be finishing up our Zoom session. I will make sure that I will pin that rubric to you today, and I will send feedbacks to everyone. Based on this, just start with fresh eyes. After 2-3 days, whenever you have time, just get through these feedbacks and try to rewrite or improve your writing. If you didn't like your initial idea, you may try to change the idea, or maybe you just didn't write some events that you included. Just try to put it in another way. Try to improve your writing. Until next time, till next Thursday, I really hope that most of you will be able to share their second drafts, right? And then we will start proofreading, and I will introduce you to wix.com, where we can put our stories. We can post them as blog posts, and we will be sharing and commenting. And here would be one website where you can see all your works. And at the end, this website will really help us to collect all these best works. We will vote for each other's works. So we will see whose works will get more likes and etc. So this is going to be an impact for you to start writing. This is all we do here is we want you to start writing if you have any such kind of desire in your hearts. So please make sure that you prepare your second draft till Thursday, and on Thursday we will share and we will discuss our second draft. And in second draft, we will start professionally editing our work. Well, thank you everyone for participating in our today's workshop. Yes?
Will you give a topic for second draft?
No, second draft is going to be the improved version of the first topic. Each month we pick one topic and work on that. Next topic will come in next month.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll see you all next week. Have a very great weekends ahead, and thank you for participating in our today's workshop.
Thank you too for the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.